Hello everybody, welcome to the video. Just wanted to give you some context about what you're about to watch. This is a video recording from a presentation that I did for an evening with friends where we basically did hyperfixation presentations on the things that we were really into. If you're in a neurodivergent group of friends, this is a really fun thing to do and I'd really recommend doing it. Obviously mine was on Bionicles lore, but we had a bunch of other ones like on Lord of the Rings or Planet of the Apes or on Ultra Kill. Really great subjects. Learned a lot. It was a lot of fun with those. So yeah, if you get a chance to do it, go for it. But yeah, for now, enjoy watching my one on Bionicles. Okay, bonkles.
Bonkles.
Now, the woke mob would have you believe that it's called Bionicles, but we're all straight here, so I think we'll address it properly. So bonkles, you may know as the franchise that saved the Lego company in the early 2000s. They were about to go bankrupt, and this thing actually got them out of it. Now, it is a really cool franchise with a distressing amount of lore. Now, there is a 13-hour video that goes over all of it. I don't have 13 hours. Now, I'll admit this video is actually, it winds a bit, it's got a few tangents, you know, it goes over a few bits. There is a much more concise video, which is 9 hours, and I also don't have but 9 hours, so I won't go through an exhaustive stretch of everything that happens in the lore. Now, the lore was revealed kind of out of order. They give you basically almost the end of the storyline first. So the first few years cover basically things that happen a few thousand years into the lore story, and then the origin stuff was revealed later. Now I could reveal this to you in chronological order and go through from the beginning stuff and sort of like the Lord of the Rings sort of way of like go from God creating light as acted. But I think it'd actually be more fun if you see it the way that I learned it as a kid, because the reveals later on are freaky and weird. So trust me, this will go really well. So I want to start off with the sick-ass marketing, because the marketing was fucking cool and really gives you an intro into the universe and what the deal is with this world. Is the sound on this?
On the island of Matanui, 6 mighty heroes rise against evil. To succeed, they must find the masks of power. Join their quest against evil. Discover their skills. Use their masks. Bionicle. Find the power. Live the legend.
Hell yeah.
Don't get cooler than that.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
2001.
Indeed,
Nice.
2001, right around as the towers fell, so, you know.
Well, that's in the presentation video now.
Yeah, so to give you some terminology first, because you need to know that Bionicles has basically its own language. A lot of it is taken from Polynesian languages, and so I'll give you some intros of what this world is. So all of this takes place on the island of Matanui, which is where they will live. It's an island divided up into different sections. It is also the name of their god, the Matanui, the god of light and creation. There is this stuff called protodermis, which is, they're all made of it. It's their flesh, but it is also what their sea is made of. There is a sea of protodermis. There is water. It's also magic. There's energized protodermis that you can fall into, and it gives you special powers. So yeah, magic, flesh, water, or protodermis. And then the people of this world are divided into 3 sections. You've got the Matoran, who originally started out as Happy Meal toys. They're basically the rank and file, the NPCs of this universe. They don't do much. They are very short, they're hobbits basically, and yeah, they actually used to be called the Tahunga, which apparently is a bad word in Polynesian language, so they had to change that to the Matoran. You have the Toa, who are the main characters. They're basically Power Rangers. They have special powers and different colours. And you have the Turaga, who are, the Turaga are basically wise dudes who barely help with anything and are there to be guides to these guys on their quest and to rule over these guys, and democracy doesn't exist. So These are your colours, your main rank and file now. There are different Toa throughout each. Yes, Sam?
So I'm guessing like each, because obviously there's a fire guy, there's an ocean girl, there's an ice guy, etc.
Yeah.
Sporty.
There's only like one per location. They're kind of like the diplomat, the representative of that section of the world.
Yeah. They're sort of like tribal leaders, but also the protectors of those regions. So, and like as with all classical racism, each color defines their personality and what they're good at. So the fire guy is always the leader.
I had that one.
You have the ice guy who's a scientist because he has big eyes and is a nerd. You have the brown guy who is sporty. Don't read into that too much. You have the green one of air who's spiritual and usually a hippie who talks weird. Don't read into that being because he's green. The actually black one, because there is earth and then there's stone. Don't know earth and then the stone. See how I got those mixed up? Don't worry, the Bionicles lore gets them mixed up all the time as well. But he's usually a chill one who's down to earth. And then there's the girl one.
Jesus.
They're not pink.
No, the blue is the girl one. Their entire tribe is the girl one. They're only girls. So are they lesbians? No, they're not, because love does not exist in the Bionicle universe.
So how do they
is
make
very
more
clear about that.
I don't want to know, do I?
There if I got onto how that worked or how they
Whoa!
So bit more backstory. So Matanui is basically their god of light, and then there's Makuta, their god of evil, their Satan. This gets obscenely more complicated later on. So, but for now, for the start,
Makuta looks awesome. Sorry, and Matui,
sick as hell design. Yeah. So yeah, this is how it started out. Nice and simple. You got God of Light, nice and happy, trying to defend life. God of Evil, trying to put him to sleep. That's the initial premise of the story. Nice and simple. So there are 3 films that tell the main chunk of this story. So, and I'll give you the rundown of how these films go. So first off, Mask of Light is basically Lord of the Rings because they were not very creative. It's 2 short characters, the Matoran. They are taking the Mask of Light of the name. They find this all the Toa have powers from their masks, but they find there are 6 Toa normally. They find a mythical 7th Toa. Sort of like how Power Rangers will throw in a 6th guy because that makes him special. This is basically that, but for the Toa. So they have to take this mythical Mask of Light and find who's the guy who's going to have the Mask of Light. Certainly it wouldn't be one of us, the main characters. They carry this golden artifact, much like Lord of the Rings. But all the cooler, taller characters do all the fighting and all of the work. The Toa do basically all of the actual fighting. And yeah, much like Lord of the Rings, they win through the power of friendship.
Zach is just nodding.
Yes. The 2 main characters. Okay, look, 2 main characters, Takua and Jalar. It is very important you say it with the hard R because he used to be called Jala, and that is a slur apparently in the Polynesian language. So don't ask me why they chose that.
So his name is Jalar.
Jalar, very important, Jalar.
Not Jalar.
Jalar is the sporty guy, and the classical hero. Takua is the chronicler. He's the nerdy guy. So he thinks, I'm the nerdy guy. I'm just here to tell the story. Jalar, clearly you are meant to carry this magical item. Jalar dies like a bitch immediately on encountering Makuta's forces. They have these fear sticks that kill you by making you experience fear. And
want to buy some fear sticks? Sorry.
Yeah. Takua realizes, oh, actually, this is my story. Puts on the magic Mask of Light and becomes Takanuva, the mythical 7th Toa. He then plays a game of lacrosse with Makuta. Don't ask. They have these things called Coley sticks. It's basically lacrosse, but they play a mythical game of lacrosse, and then they fall into a pool of the magic flesh water and become Makuta Nuva, this fucked up looking guy, because this is the 2000s, so we have to be centrists about everything, and it's the moral is it's okay to be a little bit Nazi. And that's why you need to merge yourself and become this guy. So
he sees both sides.
Yeah. Now, prior to
Jesus Christ.
No, he's the true centrist. So now Makuta, prior to this, the start of this film, had put Matanui to sleep. That is one of the reasons they want to get this mask. Is they think getting this mask of light will allow them to reawaken their god and bring about a new age of light and goodness. So Makuta Nuva opens the door. It was just a door to get to Matanui, apparently. And then the door slams on him because apparently being a god of darkness, you can just get hit by a door and die. But don't worry, he comes back to... Takanuva comes back to life, and so does Jalo. They don't really explain it, but they
what?
Come back. Yeah, don't worry, they come back to life. Now, that seems like that would be an interesting move on to the second film. You know, you think that this is the second Bionicle film, we can move on from that story? Wrong. Yes, indeed. This is the actual film timeline. So the Mask of Light is the final part of this narrative.
What?
Yeah.
That was my reaction when you told me.
Yeah. And Metronui is a prequel with the Web of Shadows being set between two shots. It is added narrative. We'll get to it. Don't worry. Yeah, I know.
What?
Yeah. So we'll explain that. So anyway, the story of Metronui. Basically, this is the story of the previous Toa team who eventually become the Turaga, the leaders in the first film. So it's this very cool thing about Legacy where it shows a natural progression. The main characters start out as Matoran, they become Toa, and then at the end of the film, they become Turaga. It's a whole thing, and it's a really cool idea. Great way to set up a narrative for a franchise that could last a super long time, where you just keep that cycle going. They never do this again. It was a great setup, never used. Don't know why. But yeah, this whole narrative is set in Metronui, which is a cyberpunk city, which is the Matoran's real homeland. It gets taken over by Makuta. This is where he puts Matanui to sleep, and they have to flee to the island of Matanui at the end. That's where they end up. So the narrative of this is it's basically just setting up why they're on the island of Matanui. They came from this city of Metronui to get away from Makuta, and sets up this idea of, okay, the guys, these old fucks that we thought were boring, they actually have a cool story. That's a really great idea. Really shows that you can actually have a cool legacy narrative that goes all the way along. Web of Shadows. Like I said, this one is set between two shots in Metronui. So as they are fleeing away from the island of Metronui, their ship gets blown off course, apparently, in between. And they get blown into this area with a bunch of spiders, and the first Bionicle to have tits. The evil female Bionicle, this one is not important, that nothing of consequence happens. There's a reason this happens between two shots. The story is cyclical. They get back to basically where they were already. Nothing of value is
nothing of consequence happens.
Nothing of now. Here's where the plot gets fucking wild. So, and all of it is outside of the if you just watch the films, you might think that this is a fairly simple narrative of heroes and villains. It gets crazy. So the island of Matanui, you might notice, has a volcano here. Now that looks quite similar to Toatahu's mask, which the Kanogi Hao, as it's called, is his mask, the famous logo, the thing that made Bionicles famous, and it happens to look very similar to the island that they're on. Ooh, very curious. Why was that? It's because it is. It is a face. The island was a face the whole time.
Oh,
their
my
island
God.
is actually the face of their god. This entire narrative was set on the giant robot that is their god. They were living inside, during the Metronui story, they were living inside, and then in the main story, they are living on top of the face of Matanui. So, yeah, this was all revealed later on, really wacky. So,
what?
Yeah, you see, he's
So
Really
what? The
cool.
first film was they were in his chest or something?
So no, the first film, Mask of Light, they are on Mata Nui, which is on top of his face.
Okay, sorry.
In Metro Nui, they are in his brain.
Does he know?
And the brain shutting down was what Mata Nui going to sleep. That's why they had to leave, because the body was shutting down, and they had to go up onto his face in the open air to survive. Yes, Sam.
With the there's the Tower of Light and there's the Tower of Fire.
Yeah.
Is this kind of like a thing where they retroactively decided it? Because like the Tower of Fire, his face is his mask is based on the actual like the face of their god.
Yeah.
Obviously he's the main guy, but like the Tower of Light seems like the more important guy. Who like what's the deal with that?
This was kind of retconned later. The Mask of Light makes it seem like the Tower of Light's super important. We will get to it, but there's actually 12 other elements. And the light guys aren't actually that important. In fact, they were genocided. There's
Oh my! This is a kid's toy.
Yeah, there's genocide in this universe, and the light Matoran are the Alpha Matoran were actually genocided. We're jumping ahead. I would cover this in a part 2, but Takua, the reason that he's able to take on the Mask of Light is because he's actually not a fire Matoran. He's an Av Matoran, a Matoran of light who escaped the genocide, and he didn't know that. So
okay,
that's why he's able to take on the light one. So
they made it work.
Yeah, they looped around. So you might be thinking, why? Why is it that they are on this giant robot face? What's the deal with that? So this is the island chain.
My god.
And a lot more narrative got set on a bunch of these islands later on. But yeah, basically the idea is that his body is lying down in the ocean, and different parts of his body peak above the ocean and are islands, hence why they're able to go to different parts of it. And the main part, the Metro Nui part, is in his brain. Like that's where the Matoran are supposed to live. That's what is supposed to be happening. They're in this giant robot. So this is if you remember the Bow Rocks, I don't have one with me, but the Bow Rocks are the coolest figures. They're the round dudes, so you could throw like balls. The deal with them is that they were meant to. This was the point of this robot lying down in the water. That's it meant to be. The idea is that it's supposed to do that. It's supposed to go to different planets to survey them, to figure out if they're fit for living in. It would lie down and grow this fake forest over itself. And once it was figured out that if this place was fit for life or not, the Bow Rock would clear that forest, and the robot would stand up, go back to its home planet. They became evil because Makuta corrupted them, and that's why they're going evil and killing all the Matoran, even though they haven't finished their mission. They're not supposed to go back yet. So what's the deal with that? So
oh my god.
So yeah, this is where it gets real conspiracy weird. So this robot is literally a continent size. Like it is huge as fuck. It was made by these creatures called the Great Beings. Now, the Great Beings come from this planet called Bora Magna, and Bora Magna got fucked. It is absolutely wrecked. They had this thing called the Core War, where different warlords tried to take over the planet, basically ruined it. All of the energy got drained out of it, much like Transformers.
I was gonna say this is starting to get very Transformers.
A little bit, yeah. And it got so fucked that 2 moons very cleanly broke off from the different side, which became the planet's called Terra Magna. This is Bora Magna, and this is Aqua Magna. And Aqua Magna took all the water with it. So this planet used to have water. That little moon took all the water. Now, the Great Beings figured out, oh shit, we need to get to another planet. Our planet's ruined. Send this giant robot out with these robots working inside of it. This robot will go and survey different planets, find a planet that we can actually live on. The Matoran, they will just keep things going inside of its head so that it stays afloat. They are meant to be basically like blood cells, keeping it healthy. This was thought of because the creator had cancer, and basically he thought of this, and when he was getting medication for the cancer, he thought it would be a really cool idea if those were all little robots keeping him alive. So it's a really cute message and an idea.
That's cute.
You would think, this is where this gets silly, because you would think if you were going to send a robot out to the galaxy or the universe, that it would get pretty far, right? You would think it would get to another galaxy, maybe even to at least to another solar system. It barely got out the front door. So
I can fly! No, I can't.
So it landed on Aqua Magna, the new moon that they just created, and it fell out the gate. It fell immediately. So it fell, and apparently that moon's fine because they lived there, and the entire series is set there. Yes, Zach.
I love that artwork. It's so klutzy.
Yeah, no, it really shows the
Engine failure.
the klutziness.
Engine failure. Crash imminent.
So how did that? Oh yeah, yes, Sam.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
Now, did that happen immediately because it was like a rush job of our planet's dying?
No, so there was actually a prototype version that they tried, which failed even harder.
This is the
How do you
finished
pronounce
run.
that?
It didn't even take off. It crashed immediately.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it did a SpaceX where it just went up and boom.
Yeah. No, that one's decorating the fucked up desert continent that they have. So it's it comes into play later. Really cool. No, the reason this one failed is because Makuta took it over basically immediately and crashed it.
What a hater.
Well, I should say Makuta, but this is where it gets more complicated. So you remember when I said that?
Oh my god.
So you remember I said that that this was simple and that there was just basically Matanui is your god, Makuta is your devil.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. They retconned this later on, and what actually happened was
Terry?
so they revealed later on that no, there is not in fact one Makuta, there is a brotherhood of Makutas.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are a lot of them.
Yeah. There's
Sorry,
13
my
of them,
slightly
classic.
insulting accent.
Sick ass designs, really cool toy line.
Mm-hmm.
I hate this. I think it ruins the story
Just to
on
get more toy
several
cars.
levels. So
Yeah.
So you may be thinking, oh, well, who's that one guy who was doing all of this? Well, that one guy was Makuta Pterodax, aka Terry. That's just Terry is the shit. He's the one who actually gets stuff done. The Brotherhood of Makuta constantly backstab each other. Terry is the one who actually manages to get Matanui shut down and take over the place.
I am your devil.
Yeah, so Terry
They
took
call
over,
me
and
Terry?
so this is the wacky thing. He wins.
What?
Basically he's been trying to take over the robot body. That's what this whole story has been about. And you would have thought from the end of Mask of Light that he was dead and that he'd lose. No, there is about 7 years of narrative story that happened, mainly in comics and prose novels, weirdly enough. And at the end point of in 2010, when the series basically got canned, Terry had won. He took over the body of Matanui. Matanui's spirit got ejected in something called the Mask of Life. And he's played by Michael Dorn in a fourth movie. I know.
Nice!
Worf from Star Trek is the god of their universe. Now, his fourth movie, he goes on a little adventure on Terra Magna, but the ending doesn't get to the point where he comes back to fight this. So, as far as the narrative is concerned, we lost. Yes, sir.
Did Makuta defeat Matanui with a blue barrel?
So
is that how he won?
I'm trying to remember how he actually did it because there's so many steps, but he might as well have. So that is the narrative.
Oh my lord!
So like I said, there's this is what they also revealed is that not only is there a bunch of Makuta, there is a bunch more elements that never got made as toys and don't really factor into the universe. There's the ones we talked about, the Return to Tradition ones. You got fire, water, air, stone, earth, and ice. Then they added, I think this graph is wrong, this is saying lightning, it means light. But there's also magnetism, gravity, plasma, sonics, iron, plant life, and psionics. And all of those have their own corresponding Matorans and Toa. And there's also been something like 5 or 6 Toa teams, including one team that had roughly 100 Toa. All of these guys are basically alive at the same time because death does not actually exist in the Bionicles universe. When they die, they get rebooted on a red star that follows the giant robot around, and they get sent back to then keep fighting. So.
Oh my god.
So yeah, this is much more complicated. And believe it or not, I didn't even cover half the story here. There is alternate universes in this story. There is stories where the next Toa team after the guys from Mask of Light, they get promoted to Toa, but the original Toa stick around, and they have to find another important mask. Yeah, it gets much more complicated than that, but rather than take up more of your time, that is the end of the presentation. I'm sure there are questions, but anyone want to throw them?
Did he make you a believer?
What's the name of the island they live on again?
Matanui.
Yeah, why is that the same as Moana?
No, so both of them are pulling from Polynesian language, so it's very similar. Yeah. So Moana was pulling from the same deal as that.
Sure.
Jason.
Oh, sorry. I've noticed that Terry's hands are actually the Mask of Light.
Yeah, they are. They
Is there-
reuse parts like a motherfucker, and especially in the early series. It's really weird, but it was a great way to get a silver version of the Mask of Light, which I think is a pretty cool design. The gold is nice, but I think this is pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Sam.
With the forerunner characters who made the Bionicles, they made
the great beings.
The Great Beings, yeah. Does anything happen with them afterwards?
No, they fucked off. They left.
Do we find out what happens to
No.
them?
No.
All right, so
Right.
Who's your favourite Bionicle?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I am partial to Vakama because he's the one who becomes the Taraga from the first film, and he actually has a pretty good story. Apart from that, Gali from the first film because she's the only one who's not terrible in that film. All the Toa fight each other, and she it's kind of sexist, but they basically just make her the big sister who's there to tell them to not do that, and that's why she's important. But yeah, those are pretty good. If I was to go with obscure ones, why am I? There's one from the second Toa team, the one that's not that was set after Mask of Light. I forget his name, but he sacrifices himself to save the rest of them. So he's the one that everyone brings up.
Is he like a fire guy?
No, he's like an ice guy. Yeah.
What age were you when you first got into them?
When did they come out? So 2001. So it would have been 7, 8. Yeah. Yeah. So Jason.
Sorry, the Bow-Rock, inside they have those little masks.
The Krana,
Yep, and they latch onto the Toa faces.
Yes.
What does that do, in lore? Does it turn them evil, or
It kind of takes them over. It's so Makuta can control them directly. There's 6 variations of each of the Krana that you can get. So there's 36 of the original run, and then 6 more with the Borak Kal, the second run of Boraks. So there's something like 50 or so, or I think actually 72 total that you can get between the color and shape variations. And I want all of them, and I'm probably not going to be able to get them all because the amount of money you'd have to spend on them is pretty crazy. Sam?
With the Borak being white blood cells.
Yeah.
There's those ones that kind of they got in the Mask of Light, they got the kind of the xenomorphy kind of body.
The Rachi.
They have weird parasites in them that kind of power them.
Yeah.
Are they? What kind of purpose are they in the body?
So those are the actual living things. So those are what Makuta's made, and they just control the shell of the Rachi. So they're purely organic beings that control that.
Oh, okay.
Which is I missed a whole deal of it because the reason it's called Bionicle is because it's a biological chronicle. Yeah.
Sorry.
The idea is that every being in that universe is or every one of the main characters is a biological and mechanical being. So they're a mix of that. Only the creatures who are from Terra Magna originally, they are fully organic, and then they've added machine parts onto them. But the Matoran and the Toa, those are all they're born biomechanical. Yeah. Any other questions?
No.
Yay! I'll give you a part 2 at some point.
Whoa,